Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Chiefs, and welcome to 2016. How exciting, huh? I love that Friday fell on the 1st this year, and we get to kick off the new year together on a live Chief chat. Really excited. Thanks for being here. Great to see you guys. My man Keith is in the house. Keith will be in the hot seat today. That's the new format here. Every week, we're going to do a hot seat with one of our members. I'm going to invite on some of the pros in the group to weigh in on what it is we're looking at. Could be a sales letter, could be some emails, could just be headlines, could be a general business question, marketing question, whatever you need help with. The community, the Chiefs are here to help you, and I'm happy to be leading the way on that. Lauren, great to see you. My man John Belkowitz is in the house. Good to see you. Happy New Year, John. John's had some great feedback already in Keith's thread, so thrilled to bring John on today. Bruce, I'm going to greet you like Springsteen every time you show up. Good to see you, Bruce. Dean, happy New Year, and my man Dean is in the house. That is Dean Edelson. How are you, Max? Great post today. Thank you, brother. Really loved reading that. Looking back, yes, measure backwards, right? We can't see the future. We can plan for the future. We can work towards the future that we desire. We must be doing that, but we can only see backwards and be in the present. So I loved your take on that. Great post. Rob, thanks for being here, man. Which Rob are we? My man, Robert, yes, healthplanhub.com. Good to see you. And Barry. Oh, what's up, Barry? Good to see you. Barry Devray. Am I saying that right? Is that French? No T? Mark Siddall. Wow. Thanks for being here, Mark. Happy New Year. Fair tidings. Love it. Cesari. Hey, Cesari. Good to see you, my man. I know you've been taking a little sabbatical over the holiday. Great to see you back in action. Rob Lair. Okay, awesome, Rob. Good to see you here, man. Davrit. Okay. Barry Davrit. Barry's been helping me out with more bullets on the podcast and doing a kick-ass job. So I really appreciate that. Barry, cool, man. So let's rock. I'm going to stay as true to the format and the timing as I can. Jason Loya, how are you, brother? Good to see you. Ross is still in Ireland, so I'm sure he'll be back with us, in 2 weeks. Quick announcement about next week. I'm decided to go to a mastermind meeting, so there will be no Chief Chat next week. So we're going to double up on the hot seats on the 16th. So Russell, if you're not on today, I will reach out to you and make sure you're available to come on the 16th. We'll double up on the hot seats that day, so that'll be a really rocking Chief Chat. The format is that I'm going to cover just a couple of the hot posts of the week and the topics and not ramble on too long here. And then we're going to dive right into the Chief Chat. And if that leads into some open Q&A, if we have time, we'll do that. My goal is to keep us to 45 minutes to an hour. I know everybody's time is valuable. It is a Friday. And I want the we get a lot of watches on the replay, and I want to make sure that that's as easily consumable as possible. So, Paul, how are you, man? Good to see you. Yeah. Cool. So a couple of posts just want to bring your attention to this week. Of course, it was, not the busiest week in the world with the holidays, but not everybody's even like awake yet. I wanted to, I don't like stopping momentum for the holidays. I don't know what this year I'm so fired up about, moving forward and being in flow. So much cool stuff going on. If I haven't announced it to you guys, I'll probably do so a little more formally, but I am stopping all client work as of right now. I have hey, Angie, how are you? Happy New Year. Hey, Wendy, good to see you. Kathy's here. Hi, Kathy Goodwin. I have no client work on the books right now for the first time in about a decade. No client work. And it's pretty exciting, and it's pretty, I don't want to say scary because it's not scary. I'm not just going to throw that word out. It's really invigorating is what it is. It's different. But I can tell you, it's amazing how much headspace it's cleared up for me to just be able to single focus on dedicating myself to this community and growing Copy Chief in all the right ways, not just by numbers, but by value and immersion and the depth of training that we go into. That's kind of our signature, isn't it? Right? We don't just, there's no surface level trainings that we do in here. And I want to make sure that that quality stays high, that we include all the chiefs, everybody who becomes a member. My goal is to reach out and meet every chief that exists in our community to whatever degree possible, know them and their business on an intimate level, treat it like a true mastermind. I'm not about getting as many people in here as possible. I'm about getting as many of the right people in here possible so that we can all benefit from each other in huge ways. And then I have other programs that I'm running and developing and continuing to develop, and hoping to get out and do a little bit more speaking and represent us on some bigger stages this year. And it's really exciting. So that's what's up with me. So the big post for the week were, I did look at my year in review and invited you guys to do the same. And so I included a few pictures, and it was kind of, the point of this was to, you know, it's great to look forward and make plans, kind of like what Max said, but you got to look back. I think it's really important to take a few minutes and look back over your previous year. And hey, Wardy, good to see you. Yeah, oh, it's going to get so much better. It's going to get so much better. I'm so excited. And, you know, look back. I know Wardy was able to do this with me. And it's really valuable to look back and go, wow, like I kind of forgot about that. I relied on my calendar and I relied on Facebook to kind of walk me through the year. I don't spend a ton of time on Facebook, but I post just enough there to help me keep track of sort of events as they played out. And so helped me make a nice list because they give you your year in review, which is kind of a cool service they run. So I won't run through all this line by line, but some big highlights. We're going to my first trip overseas. Can you believe that? 45-year-old man getting out of the country, you know, beyond Canada, at least for the first time. And there I am enjoying a day in Sydney. Spoke at James's event there. It was a blast. The family, we love to go to concerts. We were able to took the family to see The Who. I made this video, sort of a satirical testimonial to James Schramko and Silver Circle about how I was living in a dumpster when I started with them. That surprising amount of people took very seriously. It had over 2,000 views, which I thought was pretty cool, kind of went viral. The podcast started, which has been a real passion project. Love the podcast and excited to grow that this year as well. We're able to get some nice traction and hit the top of New and Noteworthy. That was cool. In August, I recorded the infamous No Pants video to launch the Fast Wins copy course. That was very cool. And I also took my son to see Van Halen after speaking at Ryan Lee's Freedom Fest event and presenting a large part of my talk on Eddie Van Halen and using him as a reference point for us to dedicate ourselves to finding our voice, hearing our voice, developing our voice, and spreading our message. And in October, we also went to Memphis to see the Foo Fighters. The family did. That was really cool. In October, I got to hang out with all the legends again. There's Paris and David Deutsch, John Carlton, of course. That's Jim Punchrey, who we studied quite a bit here in Copy Chief this year. One of the greatest. Paris calls Jim Punchrey probably the best copywriter, maybe aside of Bensavenga, but the best writer of copywriters, he thinks, of all copywriters, which is a lot when you consider the man standing next to him. This is Richard Armstrong, who's still very much in the game, but a legend in the business. And then in November, my man Ross came here to St. Pete, and we whiteboarded our heads off and did a lot of planning. This is just one whiteboard of 3 about how Copy Chief is going to become so optimized next year. And of course, we started developing the Chief Chats in a way that it's a much more of a community experience now. And I'm just in love with this. Love having you guys on with me and being able to interact with you, and that's only going to grow. So here's Wardy. I invite all you guys to do the same. Wardy had an amazing year, looking at all the stuff she accomplished, moving into an office. And it's really great to look at the things that people decided to emphasize more and let go of. And that's a great sign of how your business is growing. Are you, developing more programs? Are you developing in bigger ways the programs you have that exist already? Wardy decided to stop working as the launch manager for the bundle launches and was able to hand that work over to James and Cassie, which is really exciting. I just love that we are part of a community where good people get to hand off good clients to each other or work together on great projects. Really exciting. So here's quick list of Wardy's goals. Wardy's, always just been an amazing leader in our community because she's just really in the trenches with her marketing, always testing, always implementing. And I could spend all day bragging about Wardy and what she does for us in this community. So thank you, Wardy, again, for contributing as you always do. So if you guys, just because it's 2016, and I know we like to kind of move forward, but take a minute and just bullet out what you did last year. Of course, Max did this, and look how quickly, Max, you made it into the top posts of the week based on our stats. And this is Max's post where he essentially did the same thing and talked a little more philosophically about his year and how Copy Chief was a part of it. And that's just a very cool thing to do. So invite you all to do that. And the one other post I'll look at really quickly as I'm already over time. Wendy, we're going to have to get a whip or like a hook that extends all the way from Great Britain here to St. Pete so that you can so you can keep me on time here. But this was really exciting to me. I want to do more and more of these writing exercises. And this is what I mean about having more bandwidth to dedicate to the community and to be able to contribute things like this, because so much of it is like just following down an idea, right? And so this is all about writing in screenplay format and how it really helps us as copywriters to think in detail and to think in story and develop in story. If you guys did this exercise, and many of you did, you'll see that it's a totally different brain when you're working in a screenplay format and in a software like this. Let me click over to it. See if we can get it up on the screen here. Really simple, easy to use. Just a quick story, so I don't sound like a crazy old man here. But first time I wrote a screenplay, I had to borrow somebody's computer. I had to find somebody who had a screenwriting software, borrow their laptop, and it was much more complex than this. And now, cut to all these years later, Amazon has this thing called Storywriter. It's a free app that just makes writing in screenplay format. I'm sure Dean could tell stories as well. Dean's written a lot of screenplays about the software we used to have to use, and now to have this thing just here, and it's so simple and easy to use, and it's just a totally different way to think about writing. It's a slower paced thing, but you really get into a groove and you start to think about the details of interior, exterior, what's going on in the room, what does it look like, dialogue. There's no way to not concentrate on the dialogue and get a feel for the rhythm of the scene, how people are communicating to each other, the words they use, the words they don't use, the sly looks they give each other in between dialogue. I mean, all these things. And you guys just did it was so fun to read everybody's. And so I was just playing with that thing because I saw Marston had posted it as a link and I hadn't seen it. And so I said, well, I'm just going to write a scene that happened. And then my instinct was to exaggerate the scene. My kids are like out the window in the street being mean to each other, and my wife and I don't hear them. So we're looking through the window in the house and we're going, look how sweet they are out there. And then, everybody it was so fun to read everybody's Melanie's great story about the kids, how they come down for Christmas, making the Christmas train to wake up their parents. Dean not paying close attention to the rules of the game. I'm glad you kind of did this, Dean, because you posted in one of your more polished screenplays, but it was so cool to read a more advanced screenwriting, scene or two. You just read the action in here in Dean's screenplay, and it's really breathtaking. And like I told Dean, I could hear the music in my mind as I'm watching this scene play out. Angie had this great story about the tacos and trying to fix the coffee maker Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, whenever it was. And Barry's about his kids, and this is so true. As a parent, I could relate to. It's like you think out all these gifts and like really want to blow their minds and picture that you'd be spending the whole day playing with all the gifts you get your kids, and all they want is the thing they had the day before. Where's the iPad? We're fighting over the iPad now. Scott McKinstry got into the action. Great story, totally made up. He said about socks, about getting socks and giving diamonds. Very funny story. So, a lot of fun. Go in here and read these and have a good time with them. Dean knows it's a holiday scene. He said he'll get on because he didn't see that part of it. But anyway, it's, Dean's an accomplished screenwriter. So it's really cool to be able to learn from Dean. And I hope he'll teach us more about his experience in that, because again, you want to talk about a secret weapon as a copywriter, get into screenwriting, just have fun with it. You don't have to make a new career out of it, but have fun with it. Play with this software and just say, I'm going to write a scene a day, like something that happened the day before. And I tell you, between that and reading or listening to fiction, it's really helped my mind over the last month develop into more detail. I noticed my writing has already been affected by it. So cool. So cool CGI. CGI, Wendy, is when they use computers to create scenes. A lot of stuff like the action movies these days use CGI. Cool. Max. Okay, cool. So here's the deal. Let's jump into our hot seat. Keith, let me see if I can get you on screen here. Hopefully that'll work as planned. We'll get Keith on mic and camera here, and then we're going to dive into Keith's letter. Keith has a business where he helps dent removal companies increase their business. There he is. How are you, Keith?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Good to meet you, man. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah,
so first time here. So now I'm in the Hangout environment. I will not see the Copy Chief screen, or should I open that in another window?
Yeah, good question. If you can't open it in another window, go ahead and do that. But okay. I'll be sharing my screen, and you should be able to see it from there.
No, I can't do that.
Well, can you see my screen now?
Let's see here.
I love all those consoles that they did. He's just
Apologize.
You see your thread on my screen now?
Yeah.
Sorry, Kevin.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Were you at the dog track?
The dog track is my house where I have 4 kids running around like crazy, so I did a run away to a Starbucks.
Okay, a piece of quiet Starbucks. Perfect. Okay, cool. Well, I can mute you if needed if it gets too loud. But I'm going to invite a couple more people on here. I'm going to have Dean come on. I'm going to have Lauren come on, weighing into your thread as well. And always love having Angie on. She's I'm going to go ahead and mute you for a second, Keith, there. And John, where's my man John? Hey, Dean, how are you, buddy?
Hey, how are you?
Great, Happy New Year.
Hey, there we go. I had to say yes to permissions.
Okay, cool. Hey, Lauren.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good to see you. Say hello to Keith. We're hot seating.
Hey, Lauren.
Hey, what's up, boy?
Thank you for your help so far.
No problem.
Okay, well, here's John. Let me go way back to the beginning of
I had a dog track.
Remember, I used to be a comedian, so you're going to get some sarcasm.
I love it. That's my style.
Okay, we'll see if we get John on, and maybe we'll bring some more on as we go, but let's get into the hot seat.
I apologize. I was fumbling. That's John. I recognize his photo. Hey, John. But who's there on the left-hand side?
Hello.
Oh, that's a Dean Edelson.
Hey, Dean. Thank you for being here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
These are all experienced copywriters. Dean is a veteran of the trade, and sure I'll have a lot of value to give. So, hop over to Fred. Everybody can see Fred here. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, great. Okay, so my first take when I read through this, Keith, was I think something that John brought up as well, which was, do me a favor, John. Sorry, Keith. You just mute when you're not talking because there's a lot of Perfect. Okay, cool. Thank you. I'll let you control that rather than me. Was the first thing I noticed was something John brought up was it felt like it was all about you guys, right? And that's an easy thing for us to do because we think, well, we have to credentialize ourselves first, or if anybody's going to, listen to us. But in this case, I was really eager to get into the what's in it, for me. And one note I want to make there about this, because I know you're an experienced marketer and a lot of this is not going to be news to you. But again, it's always hardest to write our own stuff, right? And so remember that the best way I know of to credentialize yourself is to help people, your prospects, see that you understand what they're dealing with, right? The issues at hand.
Understanding their current struggles.
Yeah, exactly right. And so for me, that's how I would love to see this letter open is, just what I call get their head nodding. And it's not about asking a bunch of questions, are you tired of not getting paid what you're worth and not having enough clients and this kind of thing. More about, really, this kind of relates to what we're saying with the screenwriting, what I call small moments in writing in detail, right? When you can bring somebody into a small moment that they could only relate to or understand if they're in the business that you're in and that you're talking to them about, and they're like, this guy gets it, or these guys get it. When we start out saying, look, we're a couple badasses and you really should listen to us, and I know this, I can tell you from my days as a comic, Keith, the first thing that happens is some people's arms fold, right? And they're like, all right, prove it, right? So it's almost like now you got to dig out of a hole and just to win them over to start the conversation. But if you start out making it all about them, then you're in much better footing. And the other thing I want to just point out quickly before we get the gang involved here is I always prefer to kind of have the letter be from one person. It's just much easier to make it personal. And in this version, you go from third person to first person. You're signing off as I agree
with that completely. This is the first time I've strayed from writing directly to whoever's reading, and
yeah,
I don't love it either. So thank you for that.
Yeah, sure, right. And again, it's a common challenge when you have two people, right? And we both need to be represented, but I think just better to choose who it's from and make the copy more effective. So, John, you had some great insights here. As always, man, you just laid it on thick, and it was all right to the point. So I'd love to kind of walk through some of the highlights of what you mentioned and see, based on, Keith's come back and he's acknowledged a lot of this stuff and made some updates. So tell us what the major points were for you and how things evolved since then.
Well, so when I first read it, I didn't know what the traffic source was, right? Mm-hmm. What their mindset was before they actually hit this page.
Well, let's remind people of that. It's a good point. Keith, give us the rundown. It's
yeah. So
prospect and the traffic.
Right. So the prospect is usually a self-employed paintless dent removal technicians. These guys are like solopreneurs is the cool internet term for them. Just one guy with a truck and tools, and they go out and they service individuals who have their own car with damage, or they service body shops and car dealers and everywhere in between that's in the automotive business. So these guys are generally kind of poor marketers and poor businessmen, but they know the trade. So we're kind of bringing them into the fold and teaching them everything but the actual repairing of cars. So our ideal prospect is a guy who's out doing it, but not quite getting the business that he wants or thinks he could have or has seen other guys get. So they're coming into our system usually through our podcast, and then they're on our mailing list for a video or some kind of tidbit training, or maybe they purchased one of our training products before. So this is coming out after, well, where this comes out can of course change. It's just a letter by itself. But right now we have planned on sending it out after a 3-part free training, in-depth training on pricing.
I got you. That's interesting. All right, so they should have pretty warmed up by now, because
yeah. That's why the more
like they're pretty cold. So that's an interesting.
and the more you made me.
You're kind of known authorities. I mean, you've got the podcast and you get some listenership there. So there's a dialogue happening with your prospect already. Yeah.
Okay, and I apologize. I went long-winded on that. There was a second question, John?
I was asking about, so there is a dialogue. Like they know you, they listen to the podcast, and they're warmed up, yeah?
Yeah, and the more you made me kind of think through that, the more I realized this letter is more for cold traffic than it is for somebody who knows me. But we can go ahead and dissect it.
Sure. Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna let John have at it.
Okay. Yeah. So, depending on the traffic source, obviously it'll kind of depend on how you look at the letter a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, all the points that I made here still apply, whether it's cold traffic, whether it's warm traffic. So we'll start with the headline. So for me, the first thing that jumped out was the headline, right? If I'm looking at it from a cold traffic standpoint, I really have no clue what this thing is about by just looking at the headline. Obviously, it's about making money in some way, shape, or form, but there's no prospect in it, right? So it's intellectually intriguing because it's like, okay, I have this worm farmer. How is he making more money than a plastic surgeon? But there's really no kind of mechanism or sort of allusion to a USP. It's just kind of, I don't know if you're talking to me as a fitness guy to make more money. Is this worm farmer and this truck driver, are they working in the fitness business? Are they in the PDR business? Are they in just the info marketing business? I don't know, right? Now, if you're coming from super warm traffic, then okay, that makes a little bit more sense. If they already know that you guys are the worm farmer, the truck driver, maybe they have that sort of in their headspace already. But even still, depending on how you're warming them up, you might not even need to enter with that part of the conversation. It might be something totally different. It might be like, yeah, I know this stuff already. Like, this is whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want me to keep going or if you want.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think we all agree that first thing we got to do is identify that, and I think he does get to that fairly quickly and say, but you're saying in the headline or like above the head, attention, paintless dent removal pros or something like that, right?
I mean, yeah, that's one thing. I mean, you could, so let's Carltonize it a bit, I guess, a little bit, right? You could subtext it and say something like, why are these two average Joes the most well-respected
and highest paid
professionals in the PDR business,
mm-hmm.
right? Headline, you can just take what you have there and kind of expand that. Whatever, amazing secrets of Ohio. I'm just making this up. Ohio worm farmer and whatever truck driver that show even the greenest PDR tech how to rake in more cash in 6 months than the plastic surgeon earns in 1 year. Right?
Great.
And then you can kind of follow it up with some debt copy that kind of spills right into the actual premise of the thing.
Would it be too simple just to add at the end of that line, and I'm not in love with that line, but would it be too simple just to add out-earn most plastic surgeons doing PDR or fixing dents in cars?
Yeah, I mean, just me personally, now the example I just gave, I wouldn't even do that. Just to kind of prove a point, I would put in the PDR text somewhere in your headline, Again, if you're coming from warm traffic, then it's probably understood. But if you are talking about going to cold traffic, even if it's coming from warm traffic, I would still put it in some way, shape, or form so that they know, hey, yeah, this is me, right? Something just to flag down your prospect somewhere in the main headline, in the eyebrow copy, in the deck copy, somewhere in there.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you, John.
Okay, cool. So the headline, so get right to it in the headline. Make sure they understand they're being spoken to. It includes them immediately, makes them feel special and included, and they know they're in the right place.
I'd just like to tie it into whatever the heart of the sales message is. I'd like to encapsulate that some way, shape, or form in the headline. I think you could just do a better job than the basic. It's a story headline, but there are still specifics that I would like to infuse in there that are missing, that are specific to the prospect.
Yeah.
Or your USP of whatever your offer is going to be.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay.
So I would work up just like another 10 headlines and just take sort of different templates and maybe kind of play with them and see what jumps out at you. Yeah,
for sure. And Keith, if you haven't done the bullet writing training yet, I would suggest that one next, because we talk a lot about when you kind of bullet your product and your offer, it helps bring that headline-worthy material to life. Okay, so that bullet training will be really valuable for you too.
Okay, I haven't done that yet. I appreciate you telling me about that. I'll go and find it.
Sure. Let's get Lauren on here, because I know Lauren, she was probably actually the first one to respond and point out what I said. John had the line where you said this thing needs more prospect like
walk-in needs cowbell.
Walk-in needs more cowbell.
That was terrible.
And so, Lauren, what's your thoughts on that issue and anything else that's developed over this?
Well, now that I know that this was actually warm traffic, that helped, because I assumed that it was cold traffic.
Yeah.
When I was looking at it, because I wasn't quite sure. So when I was reading, I mean, the conversation is different when you have someone you kind of know or they're familiar with your podcast. You can things that you say, let's say in your podcast, that you would say, let's say all the time, you can actually work that in for them. Like if you had some like inside joke that people who actually listen to your podcast would know, you can kind of work that in to make it more personal. So you can really have fun in terms of making it a little bit more personal towards you and your particular audience, because they're people who already know who you are already, versus people who are just like seeing this for the first time. Then you wouldn't do something like that. So I was trying to figure out what your prospect was getting. I was a bit confused about that, because the way it kind of read, I was assuming that it's like exclusive access to you or something. It wasn't really clear exactly what was going to be in this product or this membership site. So when you are doing your offer, make sure that whatever you're getting, you make it clear within your letter.
Yeah, I was glad you brought that up, because I was stuck in my own world and totally lacking at the end of just assuming everyone understood what I wanted them to understand. But there was like zero CTA at the bottom, no details about what they're getting. Just click and join.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, well, that's what I did. I clicked. I did not join, but I clicked because I was trying to say, it's like, okay, well, maybe there's something else to it I'm not seeing. And all I saw was like a shopping cart, and then I think it was like you charge quarterly or something for whatever this membership is, but there was nothing saying, okay, well, we get like a webinar once a month. You get these 3 trainings you won't find anywhere else. You'll get live case studies. You'll get case studies from people who've used your product before. You'll have access to more experienced marketers or people in the industry, something like that. And all of that was missing. So when you have someone reading this, they're like, well, what the hell am I getting?
Yeah.
I struggled with that for a moment, Lauren, because I was trying to determine from a strategy standpoint, and I'm sure this has already been proven out, and I don't know it. Is it better to have a compelling letter and then send them to the page where you list all the bullet points and you actually take the sale, or do you think it's better to have all the bullet points like we're talking about here at the bottom of the letter? When they click, they just have the transaction where they process the payment?
Well, this letter is coming. Well, this is coming in an email sequence, right? Like
Correct.
they're already opted into something else.
Yeah.
And this is like, okay, well, there's something that's not necessarily in this training, or if they want more in depth, then this letter comes sort of next, and they get the option of, okay, well, I really like this training, and they really have something going, and I know I really want it. And now this letter is kind of like sort of offering them that solution. You can, at that point, they've already gone through a sequence at this point. You can put the bullets in there to say, okay, well, this is what you're getting. I mean, when I had a tutoring business, that's what I did, because I gave like a sample package of a program that I had developed, and at the end, that program was ending. So what I did is I had the sales or letter or email in there with like the few bullet points leading into, okay, now you can buy this tutoring program that I had going on. And that, for me, that worked pretty effectively. I didn't send them to another link at that point. I kept them right where they are, because one, they were warm traffic. Two, they're already going through a program of mine anyway that maybe was a lead magnet in the first place, and now they're ready. I got them hot, so it's really time to serve them at this point.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Just as long as the bullet points do a good job of explaining what they're getting at the bottom, just a link to complete the transaction.
Right. Yeah. Get them what they want. You got them so hot and bothered. Now it's time to give them what they want at this point. And what else did I see? Yeah, the offer. Oh yeah, well Kevin already mentioned. I said features versus benefits, and I was referring more like going into the bullets, how you're supposed to structure the bullets, because I didn't really see. It's easy to fall into the trap of putting what the features of your product or service is, than rather putting in the benefits, because the benefits a lot of times is something intangible. It's something that they get as a result of being in your membership and your product. So when you're going through that bullet training that Kevin has, just keep in mind what the difference between what a feature is versus a benefit. So when you're constructing your bullets, you don't fall into the trap that everything you're doing is just describing exactly what you want to get. You do want to put that in there, but you also want to say, hey, this is the result of doing this, and have that more, because people buy on what the results are. They're not necessarily buying all the features in the product.
That's an awesome point, and just like anything worth learning, it's been thrown at me 100 different times, but one day it'll stick.
Yeah, I feel you, bro. And you know what? I'll just add to Lauren's point. Something that took me way too long to learn with Copy Chief is that, because I was so in love with the community and the value and the people, I kept trying to sell the community to cold prospects. And James, my mentor, kept telling me, dude, they come for the content, they stay for the community. You got to sell the content, you got to sell the result. When I finally got that through my head, things went a lot better, as far as promoting it. So just remember that all they really care about is what's it going to mean if I join this thing. They cannot understand what it's like to have what we're doing right now, a group of peers who have your back, who are happy to contribute until they're in it, right? So you gotta lure them in with result-based promise, about what the content is and how you're gonna literally help them make more money. Show them in black and white. Okay, cool. Let's talk to Dean.
Awesome.
Our man Dean Edelson here. Dean, what are your thoughts? I don't know if I kind of pulled you on. I don't know if you're seeing this for the first time, but I'm sure you've got something to add.
Yeah, and I did. I just saw this for the first time, and I had a chance to glance over it, and I thought, Lauren and John brought up, and you brought up some great points. When I do a sales letter for, let's say, a membership site, whether it's where I'm driving warm traffic or cold traffic to it, I never like to assume ever that they know who I'm talking to. So I think it's really important at the top to do a call out to exactly who your audience is. Because people could be on your list, but they may not be opening up and reading your emails, or they might be doing it occasionally. And if you send them if you're driving them to the sales letter, let them know you're directly talking to them. To all PDRs, or all struggling PDRs, because if your membership is to get them involved in something where they're going to increase their income, correct? You want to help them build a better business. And with a headline, I think it's also okay. The headline felt to me like almost like a pattern interrupt. I don't know if that was an intent, like you're telling them about one thing, and then they've got to think about it and going, well, they have to be curious enough with that pattern interrupt where you're talking about a worm farmer going, well, how does this relate to me? It's got to be compelling enough to get them to read to the next sentence and the next sentence and the next sentence. So I think it's okay to talk directly to PDRs. I also like specificity, because if you're going for a membership site and you're looking, and the sole thing is to create this community and give them content where they can increase and boost their business, be specific. Do you want to triple how would you like to triple your business in the next 120 days, in the next 6 months? Now you've got their attention because you're being very, very specific. So the people who are interested in that will stick. The ones who aren't will go away. But at least you know who your audience is for what you're selling. Does that make sense?
Absolute sense, yeah. So I like what you're talking about, and the direction we're going with you is a completely new piece, basically. We start from scratch and start a new letter.
Yeah, and then coming up, and when because you're getting into, like Kevin said at the beginning, also with when you're talking about credibility with you and your partner, and you're talking about, to me, I think that works if it's like, goes back to the classic. They've got to know who you are, or you've got to make it so compelling that, because what you're doing here up at the top is you're trying to sell them credibility at first, and that you're the kingpin in all of this. Can you do it effectively? And like I said, it goes back to that classic Gary Halbert headline about A-list actor's wife finds the secret to sex attraction. And you know how Gary Halbert talking about Torva Borgnine? Are you familiar with that headline?
She swears under oath that it's not,
Yes.
not an illegal substance.
Right. So Gary did it with just an amazingly compelling hook, plus a credibility of being an A-list actor's wife. So if there's a way you can massage and create the credibility up at the top, that's fantastic. If you don't think it can be done or draw them in with that, then I would say you want to talk to their strongest desire, their strongest need.
Yeah, great, Dean. And I'll add to that, Keith, again, I keep pointing you to the trainings, but that's because a lot of the stuff is here, because the trainings we create in Copy Chief are based on these conversations about, okay, what's missing, what do we need? And so the 4x6 sales copywriting formula includes all these steps. Like Dean's talking about, what is it first? Like, get it across, like, really clear, what is it? Then, like, who are you in dynamic ways? And then, the other, I say that there's 4, blocks that people have when they arrive at your offer, and the kind of like open loops that if you don't close them, they literally, the brain won't let them buy, right? So what is it? Who are you? Why can't I live without this? And then when can I expect results? That's another thing that I think is kind of missing from your offer right now, is just sitting there going, all right, so it's it's $97 or whatever, but when will I be making more money? You can tell me your next hangout is on next Thursday, but if I don't know what's going to happen there and how it's going to affect my money, how interested am I, right? So again, check out the 4x6 for sure in the bullets. And let's talk to Angie. Was able to make it on the call. Happy New Year, Angie. Were you singing last night?
No, but there was a lot of vodka involved.
Very nice, very nice. Good. Proud
Angie,
of you.
thanks for coming.
Not a problem.
Angie.
Hi, everybody. I just keep hearing my name like randomly shouted. And thankfully I'm not at the office today.
Yeah, that's nice.
But my thoughts echo a lot of what everybody else is saying. For me personally, I was really hooked by that idea of the worm farmer. And when I started reading more, I'm like, wait, where did he go? What happened to him? So I feel like there was an opportunity missed to really get personal with your audience. Like you could, like Max said in one of his comments, you could have gone a little bit deeper into the story and really had someone curious about, well, why is this worm farmer doing better than I am? And that curiosity is really going to be key to getting them in the door, which is how you keep them there, kind of like Copy Chief and what the others were saying.
Yeah, good point. So
I appreciate that. That's kind of the angle we were going for with the headline. Is we've thrown a lot of industry-specific stuff at them over and over and over again, and
And this might be a great break and a wonderful opportunity to break that pattern a little bit, because you've been hitting on PDR, 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 right? And it's a warm list.
Yeah.
So if you suddenly just throw this compelling story about a worm farmer at them, there's an opportunity to really connect.
But actually make it a story about a worm farmer
Yeah.
instead of just a teaser headline.
It's a great hook, and that's the kind of story that makes people sit up and take notice.
no pun intended on the worm hook reference. But
Completely unintentional, actually.
but yeah, I think John gave a great idea about how you could handle that. You could really turn it into a hook-driven headline, like he mentioned Carlton's kind of three-legged golfer. One-legged golfer. That's a totally different letter for different together. But it's very specific about who it's for, but the intrigue is built in. It's a story headline, right? And so you could write a story headline based on the worm farmer, and like Angie made a great point that even I missed, thinking about it, was it's got to pay off in a big way. One of the most frustrating things you can do is like tease somebody into this open loop, and then they're going, where is it, And they actually will get angry, and again, not be able to move forward until it's like, please end this story for me. So, so that's a great point. So it sounds to me like to kind of assess everybody's input so far, Worm Farmer hook has legs, like hundreds of them potentially. I'm gonna go with the worm puns. It's the theme. As Dean said, if you don't feel like it could stand on that, you could just speak directly to them in a call out, attention all, any struggling paintless dent remover. Why aren't you making as much as a plastic surgeon, whatever. You've already, I think, acknowledged and recognized making it about them first. Value, value, value. And the last thing I'll kind of add to it is, teach them something. There's no more powerfully persuasive thing that I know of that you can do in copy is then help them see their struggle in a new way. Help them recognize their problem and see it from a new angle, because when you do that, they instantly and subconsciously make the assumption that you're the best person in the world to solve the problem for them because you help them see it anew, right? And so,
whose quote is that? So it says, if you can define the problem better than the prospect.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's the thing. It's really probably the truest thing I know about persuasive copywriting, honestly. And so, as an expert, a guy with you guys talk about this every week or whenever on your podcast. I'm sure you have you could easily dial in on the one issue that gets brought up and gets the most aha reaction from your listeners, and just use that and write around it. And again, you have the community, when you could even just like post up feedback for that thing, like to say, this is the struggle I'm going to identify in a new and dynamic way. What do you guys think? How would I present this? I mean, this is we're here for you, and so you don't have to write a whole new draft, but I think you're armed with a lot of good stuff to go ahead and do that now, at least outline one. And use that 4x6, because that's what it's for, is to walk you through every step of the offer. And even on what seems like a simple enough offer to what we now know as warm traffic, you still got to tick every one of those boxes and get the urgency in there, right? And get all those boxes ticked. And it doesn't have to be super long, but every one of those 10 steps, those 10 blocks need to be included. So awesome, dude. Any final questions or comments before we end the hot seat?
Yeah, thank you, everyone. But I do have a question. How does everyone feel about the overall length of the letter? if we're adding stuff, it's going to get longer. But I feel like it's probably at the maximum length I would want it. But I'm open to feedback. I've read some really long sales letters. I usually don't like them.
Well, we write I always say the letter's going to be as long as it needs to be to make the sale. And you could say, I'm with you, man. I've shown up to things and scrolled 7 times and gone, there's just no possible way. But I was not a good prospect for that offer. If I always say, use the health thing. I say, if I'm leaving the doctor's office and he's just told me I have something I never heard of before, I'm going to do a really large amount of reading over the next 24 hours, right? So it really just kind of depends on the urgency. If you've got somebody sitting there going, man, I dumped everything I had into this PDR business and it's not working, and my wife's going to leave me over this, my kids don't respect me, this was my last shot. If you really get into the mind of them and feel their urgency about this and get that across, suddenly length is not what anybody cares about. It's like, how much can you convince them that what you have to say is what they need to hear, and make every line of copy on the page earn its place. And if that's holding true, length is not the issue. It's just about, this has to be said. And people, you want to make it skimmer friendly, have subheads, get a lot of bullets in there, but you can't write to length, otherwise something's going to get left out. It's just it's a misnomer. So
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right, everybody, great again. So cool of all of you guys to be on. Love doing these hot seats. Appreciate you putting yourself out there, bro. This is how we grow and learn. We all have a lot to learn from each other. We'll never be done learning in this business. Lives are on the line here, man. Think of it that way. This is urgent stuff for the people who need your help, right? It's seriously urgent stuff. So,
yeah, it's a big deal to me. Thank you guys so much for taking this time on your Friday to come and help me with my problem. I appreciate it, and hopefully I can share a huge win in the next few months.
Yeah, we hope so too, man. And yeah, just that's the only way to repay it, Keith, is just stay engaged, right? And I'm sure there's times you'll have advice that you can give other people along the way. So don't ever hold back if you see something, even if it's just playing the role of prospect and reading somebody's stuff. But you're a podcaster, you run an email list, you got a lot of experience to share beyond just this one sales letter here that we're kind of grilling you on. So glad to have you part of the community. Thanks for being a contributor, man. Thanks to everybody else. If nobody else has any major questions or anything, I don't see any question threads or anything going. So let's keep it true and hold it to an hour, and we'll wrap up. But Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks so much for being here with me. Won't be here next week. We'll double up on hot seats in 2 weeks. So I'm going to need my crew here. I hope you pros can be here with me on the 16th. And next week I will be at Craig Ballantyne, who's the editor-in-chief and the owner of Early to Rise newsletter, and has a mastermind of all fitness pros who are high-level marketers. Honored to be invited by him to his mastermind next Friday in Miami. So that's where I'll be. I'll be representing us. There'll be a lot of good prospects in that room who need copywriters. So I'm going to be presenting for 15 to 30 minutes, and I'm going to make us look great, and I think bring some energy from that into Copy Chief. So I'll be there, and I'll be back with you guys, of course, in the forum, in the threads, and see you live here in 2 Fridays hence. So Happy New Year, everybody. Much love, and we'll see you then.
All right. Happy New Year.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.